We have 4 incredible leaders who are driving growth for their companies. And of course, we're going to talk not just about the geopolitical tensions, trade wars, but what they're doing in their own businesses. So I'm inspired by them. I would like to call them up as, let me get the chairs there. And first, we have Amel Chadli, who's coming up, and I think she's coming. And Amel is the president of the Gulf Cluster for Schneider Electric. We have, no, you can, we're among friends here, so you can clap. Shaheen Sayed, who is the chief executive officer for UK, Ireland, and Africa at Accenture. Kami Viswanathan, who is the president of the Middle East, the Indian subcontinent, and Africa for FedEx. And Hala Yatim, who is the chairperson of the board of directors for the National Bank of Bahrain. So please join me in welcoming my guests for a great conversation. Thank you for joining us. Nice to meet you. I know it's a challenge with not being out backstage when you're all coming in. So thank you for joining us. I want to start actually with a bit of a lightning round, just to get a sense of what's most exciting to you right now and what worries you. So let's start with what's most exciting.
What's exciting me the most right now is the momentum that we are living in the Gulf countries on the GCC. We are really...
No. Let me make sure we can hear you. Because we're at a women's conference, am I allowed to go like this? There, okay, good, perfect.
Is it better?
Yep, I think you can start again. Amel.
So yeah, what I was saying is really...
No.
You cannot hear?
This means you have to sing something if you get a mic like this, but that's okay.
Is it better?
Here, let me try. You know what? I'm going to go to Shaheen, and then we're going to make this work. So Shaheen, what's most exciting to you?
We're going to do a bit of a Spice Girls sort of moment here. But so what's exciting me? Look, I think this is the era of absolute creative brilliance with what's happening with AI, and that is incredibly exciting, I think, for all of us in the world. I think the advent of putting humans together with the technology that's about to come has huge perils, and it has huge promise.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that level of excitement coupled with the danger is interesting, I think, from a business perspective, but also from a human perspective. I think this is an age that is going to call for a very different paradigm in leadership, and I think women are going to be at the absolute forefront of that, which,
I love
again,
that.
I love and I'm deeply passionate about, and know we're going to find a new way. So, I mean, I could go on. So there's
no, it's a lightning round. You may stop, but we're going to unpack a lot of that. Kami, how about for FedEx, and then we'll keep doing a test back with Amel for the...
Is it better?
No. Look, we could bring out another mic, and Ben, we're going to give you the floor for an extra 30 seconds when we get back to you. But Kami, how about for you?
Thanks, Diane. I think I'm most excited about opportunities for growth here in Saudi Arabia. FedEx is an enabler of global trade and commerce, and with the government's Vision 2030 and diversification into industrials and retail and fashion and healthcare and electronics and so on, we see a lot of opportunity for exports and imports to grow, and we're making some pretty significant investments in capacity and infrastructure and technology and so on. And with President Trump's recent visit to the kingdom, we think there's likely going to be more collaboration between the US and the kingdom, and in areas like defense and technology and so forth. So lots to look forward to, I think.
I love that. And if you don't mind, I'm going to try first with Amel to see. Okay, let's go.
Is it better?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Excellent. There's a hush silence because now you've got our attention.
Yeah, I was saying, honestly, I'm excited about the momentum that we are seeing in the GCC countries around the innovation, the sustainability, and the inclusion. I'm extremely proud and happy to be today in Saudi with amazing ladies and leaders. And it gave us also a thought about other women in the other region, where they don't have the opportunity to be in such events. So in very nutshell.
I love that. And so Hala, how about what's exciting for you? Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited about blockchain. I think
Okay, so I think, yeah, just keep talking. If it doesn't, then I'm going to be a mic runner and move this down to you.
Okay, well, I'm excited about blockchain because I think the opportunities for.
Just a second, Hala. What do you think? What's most exciting?
Thank you, Diane. I'm excited about blockchain. And I think the opportunities that exist for blockchain in the GCC are amazing. So everything from decentralized finance to tokenizing assets using blockchain. I think because we don't have the outdated systems that some of the other countries have, we can just leapfrog, especially with governments really pushing the digital agenda and the fintech agenda. So I'm very excited about blockchain.
Great. Well, I'm going to start with you and work down because I want to see what worries you, and then hopefully by that point we'll have another mic for you. And my apologies for this. What are you worried about?
I'm worried about the supply not being able to be as high as the demand. I think we're going to have periods where there's going to be an undersupply for the demand that's needed in this region.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a lot of fluidity in the global macro environment today with the geopolitical situation and the trade and tariffs conversations and so on. So I really worry about the things that we don't control. And our approach has been, let's focus on our customers and help them navigate through this environment with, flexibility and data and technology and so on. And as a global network, we are able to do that. But I think those are the things that keep us up at night.
And you were very positive, Shaheen, so now I want to hear what worried you.
So I without being dramatic or overstated, so she goes on to say something dramatic and maybe overstated.
Oh, please.
Which
be
is,
dramatic.
I think we are about to hit probably the first of many small moments of existential crisis post-COVID. I think the flux and the situation that we find ourselves in and the polemic debates that are going on across the world is incredibly divisive. And I think the advent of the new technologies has great power for good, as I said, and also a propensity to do some very interesting things to humankind, including the ethics and bias related with algorithms and all of the things that we're seeing with AI. And I think the other thing is we're in a transitory state in terms of workforce. So we are thinking actively about what is the future workforce, what are the roles that are going to be created, who benefits, who does not benefit. And if that is not taken as a very serious discussion about human capital and people's lives, then we are into something that could, again, by frittering and lack of attention, play out not in a great way.
Yeah. And one of the things that the spot where you occupy, Amel, I think about the energy transition and the conversation around that has shifted. So I'm curious what worries you.
I will tell you the climate change. For the simple reason, the technology exists, the awareness exists. And I would like to take just an example as we were talking about the previous crisis with the COVID, for example. For the COVID, in fact, the world put $9 trillion in order to fight against the COVID. To fight against the climate change, we need $500 billion. And as of today, we have not found it. So even if we have this willingness, we have the technology, right now, we have a tsunami in front of us, and we are doing small steps, but the real issue is not yet fixed. And this is really what worried me.
Well, let me stay there a second. We are going to have questions from the audience, so I will go to that in a minute. But you're all incredible leaders of your companies, and so I think a lot of this is about leading and navigating and choices through this time. So when you think about sort of the priorities that you have, what are you doing differently in light of the environment that we're in?
So we are putting the sustainability at the heart of everything that we are doing. And we are taking the sustainability in the holistic way. Not only about the environment, but also with the population where we are, by training the local population and bringing new skills. So our products are having the green premium, which means that we are very cautious about the impact in the environment. We are bringing the energy efficiency in order to save the energy, but also to decarbonize all the activities. And I'm extremely proud to say that Schneider was appointed for the second time as the most sustainable company in the world by Corporate Knights. So it's like a huge responsibility to maintain this standard.
I've been trolling all of you, and I feel I should mention, by the way, that you were at the Sorbonne, and then you started out, I think, well, what did you want to be when you first grew up, just out of curiosity? Because I feel like it's always good to connect as human beings, too, because I have stuff on all of you, which I think is fascinating, in terms of the leadership roles you now occupy. Was it a love of climate that took you to this, a love of technology?
It was, at the beginning, it was, I wanted to be a diplomat, in fact. I was dreaming about a peaceful world, and from there, it took me to finance, and I finished by being a business leader.
I love that. And so, Shaheen, of course, I want to ask about trade and tariff war, but I'll also mention you were an English major, and I read something about recklessness and reason, which I thought was just a brilliant combination. So let me ask you about how you're managing right now, especially Accenture, as you mentioned, is on the front lines with agentic AI and a huge transformation of the workforce. So tell us a little bit about your own leadership.
Through this period.
Through this period.
Look, it's really interesting. I think we have been probably through the last 2 years of real turbulence in Europe in particular, and especially in the UK and Ireland and Africa, the regions that I look after. And I have had to pivot very quickly in the way that I lead us through this transformational moment. I mean, even if you think about how many people we've had to skill to face the market and meet our clients where they're at, I mean, we're talking about 1.1 billion of investment that we had to make just in skilling our people up. So every single day in the offices, you will see thousands of people going through training, and that was no mean feat. So investment decisions and where we were putting our energy and our resources was incredibly important to the story of transformation in Accenture itself. And we had to learn to be our own best credential, which is so you can't counsel or advise anybody if you don't do it to yourself. So
what's the value of recklessness and reason in a leader for you?
I think there is risk associated with everything. And I think with women especially, when I first used that term, I was talking about my career and saying my career was a journey of recklessness and reason. And the reason I used that word was because it was a man actually that said, Shaheen is incredibly reckless. And I said, no, I'm not incredibly reckless. I'm incredibly good at taking calculated risks.
I love that.
They are two very different things. And the reason part was really both a little bit of the heart and the head. It was logic in how I felt the market was going to move and where I was positioning myself as a leader in that market. So I did take big risks. I was a single parent very early in my career. I had a baby, and I traveled all around the world with him because I had no choice. That wasn't out of desire to do it. But I knew that I had to make very difficult decisions to survive in a world that was very different, 27 years ago. My son's 24 now. So, so there was real madness to some extent in perceptions of the challenges and the risks that I was taking.
I think that environment, some would say, is here today too. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
And Kami, you founded companies before you went. You founded 2 companies that I know of. You probably founded more. 3? Okay. 2. Okay, just 2. But now we're like, how? I'm curious. In addition to FedEx, obviously the geopolitical challenges you're dealing with. But how has being a founder informed some of the ways in which you're leading in this environment?
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting question. And so the current environment, while it presents some real challenges, I think also presents opportunity to be more innovative. And particularly in the region that I lead, which is the Middle East, Indian subcontinent and Africa, with the terrific talent pool and the digital savviness, I think technology is a huge sort of way to not only address risks that we see, but also help our customers grow. And if you really think about it, supply chain, the whole idea of supply chains has become a boardroom topic now, post the pandemic. And with all of the geopolitical issues and the Red Sea crisis and port closures and now the tariffs conversations and so on, supply chain resiliency has become a huge priority for our customers who are large global businesses and regional businesses. And part of that is about hedging risks, about developing alternative supply sources and secondary markets and tertiary markets and so on. But part of it is also about end-to-end visibility. And that's where I think data, technology, and innovation come in. And what we're trying to do is to help predict based on data in our network and leveraging tech platforms where things could go wrong in supply chains and put in place interventions that help our customers manage the end-to-end better. And one of the examples is we use IoT and sensor-based AI, for example, on our packages, which provides data real time, and that feeds into an algorithm which uses a variety of other factors, including weather and other historical information, to make these predictive analysis and help us put in place interventions.
I love tracking my package on FedEx. It's like it's got a more exciting life than I do, for sure. Now, Hala, I think being chair of the board is a really interesting role because it's a lot of people in here serve on boards. I also want to mention the family business you've been a leader in, but I'm curious from that perspective of being on the board, how are you thinking about this environment right now? And just again, you've been in many different roles. I'm very curious when you're not the person who manages, but you are overseeing what the managers are doing. What's your advice too?
Okay, well, first thing I must say, I chair a board of 10 men. So
Yeah, you're the only woman. Yes, exactly. That's a good feeling, perhaps.
That is a good feeling. So I think the difference between managing a company and being on the board is really you have a bird's eye view and you have to look at the strategy. So our job, and my job particularly as chair, is to steer the conversation to come up with, and I'm a spokesperson for the board. So I speak on behalf of the board, but it's not a unilateral decision. So we sit and we discuss current economic trends, things that are happening in the region, and how it's going to affect our business. And our job is really to guide the management to go through these different times.
Good. Now, are there questions? I want to leave room for one or two questions. If there are, just raise your hand. And if not, I have a lot of questions. I know it's hard. I can't see. So is there a question over there? No. Okay, so we're warming them up. Yell if you are, because I can't see. But let me, I want to go back to the geopolitical situation, because I think about that a lot. And I'm actually going to stay with you for a second, Hala, in part because I know that Bahrain has played an important role. How are you thinking, all of you, how is geopolitics impacting just your customers? Let's start with that, because I think that you all have also a very broad swath that's quite different. I'd love to hear your perspective. We're just fresh off, of course, a big visit from the US here. How has that changed anything, or what do you think?
Yes, it has changed, but it will continue to change in the coming months. And the reason is the disruption in supply chains, I think, is a big issue for many of our customers. And because I come from the banking sector, we serve all sectors. So I think that's one of the issues we're going to face. Lower oil prices also. We serve a lot of the GREs and the government as well. So I think that will also affect some of the businesses in the economy.
Okay. Amel, what do you think the role of the private sector is when governments aren't necessarily coming together? I know Saudi Arabia has been a leader, but my country has not, always on climate. What do you think, what can the private sector do?
We can do a lot, in fact. First, by increasing the awareness in the universities, even in the high school. I'm personally engaged, and I start, to go to the high school in order to give some lessons about the sustainability and the climate change, because it's impacting the behavior of every one of us, And it's going also without saying, don't do that or don't do that, but it's just by having a balanced behavior and voice in order to adapt our way of living. This is one. The second one is working with the universities in the program also in order to prepare the new generation to embed the sustainability in the work. But we are working a lot with the government, in fact.
Okay.
And honestly, I see in the region, because I had Saudi in my scope and all the GCCs, so GCC countries, sorry. So all the government are open for discussion with the private sector.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of partnership. So I think the key word will be partnership between public finance, with the green finance, it's very important, and the industry.
Yeah. I love the fact that somebody who's president of the Gulf cluster is also going to high schools and speaking. There you go. Doing it all. Shaheen, I want to ask a little bit, geopolitics too, but I have to say I'm currently training my digital twin to interview myself on stage, and I'm worried that I'm very predictable and replaceable, so there's that. Anything quickly you want to say about AI in terms of what we should be focused on, that the questions we're not asking enough?
I don't think we're asking enough questions about native AI companies and the startup ecosystem that's coming. I think it's trailblazing, and I take Noli as a great example. I mean, it's a spin-off of L'Oreal. I don't know if anybody's heard of Noli, but it stands for No One Like I, and it's a beauty brand that has a business model 100% powered by AI. So they have got no encumbered technology. There's no legacy estate. There's nothing that they are working. Well, it's brilliant because they
Chatbot just looks at your face as you walk in and goes, I've got it.
Well, there's lots of scanning in it. There's lots of real understanding of ethnic diversity in it in terms of skin tones and the whole of it. It's incredibly powerful, but their middle and back office is also using it. And I think we need to really start to work with the ecosystems very differently because it's not the old world of the big players necessarily. That's the first thing. And I think this combination, this amplifying force of human and AI together, as opposed to two kind of swim lanes that at some point meet, but actually designing and crafting the experience, working with both.
Yeah, and managing. I think
a massive
you're right.
part of
I agree
how our
with
futures
you.
lie, yeah.
Kami, I want to give some time because in addition to, I feel like you've got a good sense of the markets that we should be paying attention to that, again, are on your radar that you'd like to put on ours. Not also because you've got this huge swap, but you're seeing where the action is with FedEx. What are you paying attention to right now?
Yeah, I think there is tremendous across this region, tremendous opportunity. And to the earlier point Amal was making about, partnerships with governments who have very clear vision plans and investment plans. So one of the things we're doing in Saudi Arabia, for example, is we have an agreement with the King Salman International Airport, which is upcoming, to increase supply chain efficiencies by increasing capacity, by trying to see how we can use Riyadh as a way to service the GCC and connecting with our road network and so on. And I think there's also opportunity for specific segments within the region, the small and medium segment, for example. And again, I think that's where private-public partnerships come in, where we can work with governments. We're working with the Saudi government as well as the in the UAE, to develop small and medium businesses to trade internationally and develop export markets.
I'm looking at the time, and so forgive me, we've got a minute, and I want to give each of you a chance for some final last words. I'm going to start with you, Hala, and it could be best advice you've had or advice you have for this audience, but give us some final thoughts in 10 seconds or less, what you're thinking about.
Okay, I think for women, generally, don't be afraid of failure, and I'm sure many of you have failed many times. But I think it's something you have to go through.
I love that.
Yeah, I think on similar lines, I would say stay curious and be bold and seize opportunities.
Shaman?
Yeah, look, the best advice I ever got, and it was highfalutin, but it was the greatest truth I ever received, was astonish me. And in doing so, you'll astonish yourself.
I love that. Last word goes to you, Amel.
Dare to be yourself.
I love that. I think that I can't think of better advice. Please join me in thanking Amel, Shaheen, Kami, and Hala